Well, last week I made that video, science and the math video, and that one had me shook a bit because that was a tough one to do, looking at like the philosophy of math and logic, meta logic. It made me question my own logic. I'm like, am I crazy like these people are crazy? Am I doing the same thing that these two people that I showed you last week are doing? So for the past week, I've been really questioning and going forwards and backwards through my own paradigm, my own worldview, and see if I got it wrong. Because logic is formal logic. It's like a math. It's like math. I would say logic is a parent of math. Um, and those two people are stuck in the math. They believe that the math, it's a map, but they believe it's reality. And the map can never be the territory. By definition, it can't. But yeah, it forced me to audit myself. And I'm a layman. I'm just a regular guy, truck driver for 20 years. So this was a tough one. But the pattern that I noticed during this week, I was watching a lot of philosophers and mathematicians and logicians. There's tons of them on IG. They got channels, they're ranting, raving, debating. And I'm like, all these people are map makers. They're just map makers. The logician's a map maker, the mathematician's a map maker, the scientist is a map maker, the calculus triplets are maps. It's all maps. That's all it is. And the map is not the territory. Reality is not the math. It's not. So I was watching all these guys, and I'm like, man, this is all from the Enlightenment. All this, we're living in the philosophy of John Locke, Immanuel Kant, Thomas Jefferson. We're living in their philosophy. David Hume, right? And I'm like, there's been there's been signs, there's been a red flag, there's been proofs and evidences where people have blown the whistle on empiricism, the philosophy of empiricism. David Hume from the jump. David Hume, he said in the 1700s that empiricism can't even prove that the future will be like the past. He proved the problem of induction. He literally proved it a long time ago. 1700s. That was the first that I could think of. Like, hard stop, red flag. Hey guys, there's, there's something seriously wrong with this philosophy. Seriously wrong. And then we have the Agrippa or Munchhausen trilemma. Literally all empirical worldviews get stuck in this trilemma. There's worldviews that get out of it. There's one I know for sure. That's the Orthodox Christian worldview that solves all of these problems. But empiricism, it's stuck in the trilemma. You can't get out of it. That's another red flag. Like, dude, stop. And then we go to Gödel's Incompleteness Theorem, right? In the 20th century, he mathematically proves no system can prove its own consistency from the inside. That's another hard stop. Boom. Hey, maybe we should not do empiricism or put empiricism in its place and do it for the physical stuff, but not try to map metaphysics reality, because reality is metaphysical. And then we have another one, the JTB Gettier problem, the justified true belief. That is another one. The Gettier problem, you could learn knowledge by accident. That's a problem because you'll never know it was an accident. Like maybe a lot of this map making, what we found it by accident, right? And it doesn't tell you the actual epistemology. Another major problem that I've noticed, these modern philosophers, these Enlightenment philosophy, empiricism, these logicians, these mathematicians, all these people completely ignore these. Completely. They don't even think about it. That is like a rigged game. The game is rigged. We have 4 hard stops. Sorry, 4. David Hume, the Trilemma, Gödel's Incompleteness, and the Gettier problem. We have 4 hard stops. There's probably more, but these are the ones that keep coming up that I've seen over and over and over again. These ones are a hard stop on this philosophy, on this worldview, on this system of empiricism. I mean, it's so crazy that they just ignore these hard red flags, these brick walls in their entire philosophy, in their whole mathematical system. Logic tells them they're stuck. Mathematics tells them they're stuck. They're stuck. So what does the Enlightenment matrix do? This gigantic system that we're in, of this philosophy of these men's minds, they mash on the gas. They don't look at the red light. They just go right there, run the red lights and just keep going. And they just pretend those 4 things don't exist. They just overlook Hume. Whoops. Oh well. Just keep going. Hey, the math is mapping this physics, right? So it must work. It, it's so bad that now we're going into nonsense worlds, right? Now, like in the last video, I showed you they're going into box universe theory, that we're 3D, 4D floating meatworms. Like, it goes into complete nonsense. It goes into, they first they map physics with math, and then they starting to map quantum physics, and then they go into string theory, and then we're in nonsense world, multiverse, freaking meat worms, and hard determinism. We're just mechanisms, evolution. We're just meat computers. Literally, all this stuff completely ignores that logic is universal, non-material, and mind-dependent. It completely ignores consciousness. It completely ignores empiricism. Is like everything is physical, is the truth, is the only thing that's real. I'm like, you're using metaphysics, truth, knowledge, logic, using abstract concepts that are not empirical, not material, not physical. You're using that to do empiricism. And you can never prove the metaphysical with empiricism. You're stuck. It's over. Any true philosopher, any true logician will tell you it's done right here. Your system is wrong. If your system can't account for and justify and ground the very thing you're using to do the system, you got a major problem. It's consciousness is what allows them to do the math, to do the logic, to find the truth, to keep the knowledge, to code and decode knowledge over centuries. I mean, it's so crazy that they just ignore these hard red flags, these brick walls in their entire philosophy, in their whole mathematical system. These 4 hard walls, they just ignore it. And then they go on all these shows and podcasts and on IG, and they debate people, and basically I'm smarter than you because you don't know the exact equation for formal logic or the calculus triplets or whatever. I'm like, you can't even you can't account for the logic in your mind that you're using. Like, don't tell me anything about how you're so much smarter. Like, you think it's chemicals in your brain, or it's a simulation theory, a bunch of nonsense. You ignore the hard truth and play a 3-card Monte inside your own system to make yourself feel smarter than everybody else, and to keep getting grant money and whatever they're doing, degrees for themselves, so they could freaking applaud for each other and debate each other. Like this is an entire closed loop system that is going into the absurd. It's going into the absurd with their meat worms and 4D and 5D shadows casting in the 3D world. Like, oh, because Einstein's relativity points to that. Somehow, with mathematical formulas, it must be true. No, that's a map. That's a map. These are map makers. These are map makers. They're map experts, and they're lost in the map. How freaking ironic. The irony is insane that these mathematicians, these physicists, these quantum physicists are literally map makers, and they're completely lost in their own maps. That's what they are, because they had four hard walls that they just slammed one after the other through and pretended they don't exist. So when they hit those four walls, they sprout off another weird philosophy theory about 4D space worms, or string theory, or our universe is in a black hole theory, on and on and on and on and on. Time doesn't exist theory. They just go into nonsense, absurd world over and over again. Every time they hit that wall, bam, another nonsense philosophy theory, science theory. And because it's, oh, we're empiricists, you should believe us. Are you out of your mind? You're making up you have hard dogmas. You're in the trilemma. You're into an infinite regress, hard dogmas, and whatever the third one is, I forgot. Oh, the circular. Um, it's crazy to see it. When you see it, when you step back, look at this big picture of Enlightenment philosophy. Look what it done. It's crazy, and nobody sees it. They just pretend these four walls didn't put a hard stop to their nonsense hundreds of years ago. I had to question my logic now, and I had a Orthodox Christian worldview, and I had to run back through it and realize what exactly math and logic is. It is a language, it is a system, and it can't do certain things because maps are not the territory. You cannot fully map the system inside the system, the incompleteness theorem. You can't do it, right? And in Orthodox theology, you can't go past the Trinity. It goes Trinity forward, Jesus Christ forward. That's the baseline of all. You can't go past to the essence. You can't. It already accepts it. So Orthodox theology accepts those four problems. It accepts them, it justifies them, it deals with them. Nothing else does. Nothing else does. Right? The JTV problem. Right? If you ground your knowledge in God, that's your ground. The divine revelation. That's what happened. That's how we have everything. Logic. You start with logic. Logic is grounded in God. It's universal, mind dependent, never changing. Was here before us, will be here after us. It, it's grounded in Him, guys. There's no other way around it. And knowing that is limited. You can't go past that. It's a map too. Logic is a map also. The incompleteness theorem, we accept it. Accept it. Logic and math can't map the system from the inside. It can't do it. We already accounted for that. Empiricism can't. David Hume, right? David Hume's, yeah, we're not empiricists, so we don't have that problem. We know how to use empiricism. We can use empiricism to do what empiricism does and do some natural sciences and stuff, but we're not going to build elaborate theoretical 4D space worms and string theory and time doesn't exist. That's complete nonsense. The trilemma. We're not in the trilemma. We're not in it because the trilemma is for empirical, materialistic worldviews. We're not in it. We're not in that system. We ground logic. They can't. They can't even ground logic. So they're in the trilemma. We're not in the trilemma. So that it made me for, and it was hard. This was hard this week because I thought I was like, maybe I'm the crazy one just like them. Because all these mathematicians, all these logicians, all these scientists, all these philosophers, they're all stuck in these four problems and they just ignore it. I'm like, how could they just ignore it? I thought philosophy is supposed to be like seeking the truth. They don't give a shit about the truth. They care about winning. They care about their paycheck. They care about playing three card Monte with everybody else, so they freaking feel smarter than everybody else. Man, I watched a guy named Axiom something. This guy Axiom whatever. This guy, this whole thing is that he's the Axiom smasher or whatever. He's the Axiom guy, and he picks apart people's axioms. And then turns out he's like this super hardcore atheist, can't ground anything metaphysical. Just like you just ignore all the other axioms. You ignore grounding law. You just ignore. You're just gonna ignore it. That's all you're gonna do. You're just gonna ignore it. Great. You didn't do anything. You joined in this gigantic empirical map. You found your little niche. And you play your little three-card Monte to feel smarter than everybody else. You really like are a terrible like example of a logician mathematicians. You don't give a shit about the truth at all because there's axioms right in front of you that you ignore, and you use axioms that, dude, somebody called them. There was a video I seen of him where it's like God is a genocidal maniac, blah blah blah. Same stupid crap that you hear all the time. And I'm like, where do you ground your morality? You have no ground for it. If you don't ground it in a transcendent being, in God, it's namely Jesus Christ, where ethics and morality that you're living in, right? The United States is based off Christian law, Christian morals, Christian ethics. You're borrowing them, you atheist. You're borrowing them. Number one, you can't ground shit, so you have no place to judge anything at all. Number two, they told them, for whatever Bible story that was, right? Joshua or something like that. They told him, you have to get the context. He's like, I don't need the context because this is genocidal evil. I'm like, the context would be an axiom. Your channel name is axioms. Like, so you're just gonna ignore the axiom of the content? Like, literally, the axiom would be the context of the biblical story, and then you can work your little logic math problem on that, can't you? Oh, but wait, you have no ground for morality, so you can't do shit. You're stuck in those four walls again. You're stuck at David Hume. You can't get an ought from an is. And that brought me back. This week. It's like, what is this we're in? What is this? What is all this math and logic and philosophy? What is it? They're just maps. The law of identity tells you what a map is. What this ontology? What's this telos? What's this purpose? What's this identity? It's a map. Its purpose is to point you to something. It's supposed to map you and tell you which way to go to get to something. You're not supposed to make maps of maps of maps of maps of maps of maps of maps and then look at the map and be like, yeah, we figured it all out. You're supposed to be going somewhere. We're not going anywhere. We're going into absurd land. We're going into a pure absurdity. What is a map? What's this identity? Is on its being is to do something. It's for humans because we're the only ones that can make maps and read maps. For us to make maps so people can get to a destination from A to B, right? Simple logic. Not this is reality and we figured it out. And oh, here's another layer of reality. We got to map this thing and figure it out. And guess what? The reason why they can't figure consciousness out, the reason why they can't figure out logic, the reason why they're never going to do it with empiricism, it's literally impossible. You got four walls I mentioned that can't be broken by empiricism, no matter how many freaking empirical systems you throw at it, no matter how many absurd 4D space worms you throw at it, no matter how much gematria you throw at it, because you two, you empiricist and you freaking gematria guy, you guys are on the same spectrum. You guys are driving the same car. You guys are on the same spectrum. both obsessed with math. You're never gonna find a equation for a person, because John 1:1, he said it 2,000 years ago. The Logos became flesh, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. Jesus Christ is the logic of the Father. He is holding this together. He is the lawgiver to the law of identity. You're not going to map a person with calculus triplets. You're not going to map a person with logic, with formal logic. You're not going to do it. You can't map love with calculus. You can't map his love for us. You can't do it. He is a person. God is a person. Empiricism will never figure this out, ever. We figured it out 2,000 years ago when John said, hey, Greeks, remember that gigantic concept you called the Logos? Logic? Guess what? He's a person. Boom. That literally gave you the answer to all of this. The four walls are broken now. They were broken 2,000 years ago. He solves all the problems of the one and the many. The incompleteness theorem. Everything gets handled and accounted for and justified for. Your equation is complete. Now, the boundaries are set. Maps have boundaries. Now the map is set. And it's crazy. They worship the map instead of the God who made the territory. It's the most wildest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, how deep is it? How crazy is this? These people worship their own maps and they're completely lost. Completely. Their maps have boundaries. Maps can't become the territory. No matter how much more math they stack on top of it, it's not ever going to be reality. It's not ever going to be logic. It's not ever going to be a mountain. It's not ever going to be atoms. It's not ever going to be Saturn. It's not ever going to be solar system. It's not ever going to be time. Never. Never, because those things are grounded in a person. And he loves us. And that's what's holding it together. The lawgiver of the law of identity. The I am that I am. That's the answer. And as ironic as can be, map makers that are lost in the map. You can't make this shit up. You can't. It's too ironic. It's the definition of irony. Map makers that are lost. That's the freaking joke. It's amazing.